folks, next we're going to have Julie Galob on board. She'll be, oh, there she is.
Hello, hello.
Hi, you're in your car.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
I'm in my car because this is the best place to get internet. So when you live in the country, sometimes you have to, jump in behind the wheel and find a place.
And where are you now?
I'm in the parking lot of my local grocery store in Kansas City.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. This has been a great morning so far, and we've talked to Amy Robbins and Emily Valentine, and now we get to talk to you.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. Why don't you give everybody a little bit of a run through of who you are and the amazing things you do in the world.
Well, thanks. Thanks to everybody for tuning in who are here live. First of all, you're awesome. And then everybody on the replay, it's such a pleasure to be able to connect with you. My name is Julie Galob. I'm a professional competition shooter that shares my passion for the shooting sports and safe, responsible gun ownership. So it's a journey that I started on ever since I was little. And it's something I love to share with fellow women and gentlemen as well, like you, Cliff. And it's just been a wonderful, wild ride in a lot of ways, very competition based, an evolution, if you will, into becoming a mom, a writer, and just really living a life that's fully loaded.
Wow. And have you been involved in firearms your whole life? Like you grew up with it? Because I know you were in the Army also.
Yes. So I grew up being a daddy's girl. So wherever my dad went, I went with him. So whether it was the shooting range, which we did a lot, or fishing, or I even hung out with him in the summers when he did construction work, I was his little sidekick. And so it was completely normal for me to want to do what he loved doing. So, starting out as a young girl, going to the shooting range with him, there weren't very many of people like me, little blonde girls, and it kind of turned some heads. And the thing that really struck out to me is throughout my entire life as a child, I always had a place. I was always told what to do. I was always treated like a kid. But at the range, I was treated like an adult because we all had to follow the same rules. We all had to do the right thing on the range. And I really loved being respected just as a person, not just as a kid. I was never talked down to. I was never told I couldn't be there as long as I followed these rules. And it really hit me that this is what I really loved about the shooting sports, was being able to be a part of something regardless of who I was, whether I was a kid, older person, woman, man, it didn't matter. We were all there together.
Excellent. So then when did you go to the Army, like out of college, out of high school? What was the story? And
sure.
What did you do in the Army?
So it kind of started, being and spending so much time on the range with dad. I actually started shooting when I was a 14-year-old, just jumped right into competition. Wow. And because of that, I got pretty good. So I went to my first national championship as a junior in high school. And while I was there, I caught the attention of the Army Marksmanship Unit. And that's a unit that's dedicated completely to shooting sports. And they offered me a job, essentially, to go shoot on the action pistol team. So when I came home from nationals, I told my parents, guess what? I'm joining the Army. And it was one of those things like, oh, okay. We never saw that coming. But basically they gave me a letter of acceptance. I had to go through basic training and military police school. And after that, I was a soldier.
Wow. That's fabulous. So you've actually had kind of an interesting life as a woman growing up in a kind of a man's world. And how is that? I mean, you seem to have really enjoyed it, and you've had the respect. Is there anything about that more about that you'd like people to know about?
So it's funny. When I first started competing and being involved with the shooting sports, there weren't a lot of women that did it because they really wanted to. They kind of just hung out with their husbands or their partners, like, yeah, I'll go shoot with you. They didn't have any real goals, right? Except there were a handful out there that really inspired me. Women like Sheila Bray, Kay Michalik, they're like legendary women in the shooting sports, Kippy Latham. And I admired that so much, because here they were, all these guys around them, and they had the desire and a drive, and they had goals. They wanted to become a champion. And
Right.
so that really stuck with me. And it inspired me to even join the military, something that I didn't really consider.
Mhm.
And I knew that that would be the best way for me to be able to chase those goals. Nowadays, oh my gosh, that was 20 years ago. Today, it's completely different. There are so many women of all ages, from
Right.
young to old, who are in the shooting sports setting their own goals. And that's really exciting. So those pioneer women that, before me, that kind of inspired me to want to try something that maybe other women didn't do, really made an impression on me. And now it's just so reciprocal. We're seeing it more and more every day, which is really neat. There are still some guys who wish the range was their time and only their time, but there are very few and far between. Most of the time, 99.9% of the time, everybody's just so excited to see women involved in something,
Right.
one, that is goal oriented, competition oriented, really neat and fun to do. But two, there's that added benefit of having confidence with being able to use a firearm. So no matter what happens on the range and fun, you have that benefit that translates over to real life.
Awesome. Hey, I've got a question. Of course, I have lots of questions. What is the process of getting ready for a competition? The like everything from your mental state to practice to the travel, and how do you deal with your family balance on that and involve them so that everybody's like, fulfilled and whatnot. I think it's a big challenge for anybody, but especially for a mom and being world champion. So how does that work? How does that work?
You're right, Cliff. It was tough. In the beginning, it was easy. When I was just a soldier, like, all right, I need to show up on time. I need to make
Right.
sure I have my stuff. Got to have my gun and my ammo. I'm good, right? But then as an adult, when you're out there and you have a family, you have a husband, you have whatever, you have all these distractions that need your attention, loving distractions, it's hard to juggle it. So one of the things I find that I absolutely have to have, and I have this massive checklist that tells me everything I need to do before I need to do it, so that I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to think about, oh, did I remember to do this? Oh, did I remember to do that? So it's everything from, did I water my plants, to, do I have my eye and ear protection? Do I have O2Armor? Whatever the case may be, I have it all on that list so
Right.
that it works for me. And then that way I'm not stressed or worried. And then as far as the family balance is concerned, one thing that's unique about my situation is competition is my job. So it's not always easy to just bring the family along, because I have performance objectives that I need to meet in order to be able to
Right.
continue to do my job. So that can be challenging. But what we do is we do coordinate fun time for us. So,
Mhm.
for example, when my little daughter was 8 years old and she decided she wanted to shoot, we went to the range together and she shot a competition with me. I
Right.
did not shoot the competition in the way. I was like, I'm just here for her. It was fantastic. But we learn to separate things out in a way so that everybody is getting what they need and when they need it.
Nice. Um, so when you're at a competition, what are some of the processes you go through? I mean, I think a lot of people don't know what your competitions are. So you mind giving us a synopsis of what you participate in?
Sure. The sport I compete in, I lump it into just one category called action shooting. So
Mhm.
basically, the skills are speed and accuracy with a handgun.
Mhm.
So I'm shooting various different targets from different distances. They may be paper, they may be steel. Sometimes I'll shoot a fixed course of fire that I know exactly what's going to happen. But a lot of times I've never shot a course of fire before and I'm seeing it for the first time. I get 5 minutes to walk through it and figure out a plan. So it always involves drawing from a holster, sometimes shooting on the move, shooting multiple shots on multiple targets, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like, I don't know, if you, it's almost like a video game, but with firearms in a safe environment. So it's really one of those things. Growing up, I was very cautious kid. I was like, no, don't go too fast.
Mhm.
I want to be very careful. But shooting really brought me out of my shell and trying things like, okay, yeah, I'm going to jump off that platform and chase down those targets and stuff like that. So it really kind of, it opens your eyes to things that you may not know that you could be comfortable with, and gets you out and, break out of that comfort zone a little bit.
Right. So it gave you confidence.
Oh
So
yeah.
it gave you confidence. Also, interesting enough, you've authored several books. Would you like to give us an idea what those are, and what people could get out of them if they were to read them?
Sure. Well, the
Yeah.
first book is called Shoot, Your Guide to Shooting in Competition. You can get it available on ebook. And it's one of those questions that I would get all the time. How do I get started in shooting sports? So I wrote a book about it. So it goes through the wide variety of shooting sports. Gosh, there are so many of them. And all of the little skills and tips and tricks and performance stuff that I've kind of thrown in there to help a beginner really get started. Another book that I've written is Shooting While Pregnant. It was another question that I kept on getting. So this one is actually free on my website. It's a download, and it's just the things that I researched and learned, because as a mom and being a professional shooter, that was a really big question for me. Is it safe? Is it something that I wanted to do? And that sort of thing. And then my third book is Toys, Tools, Guns, and Rules. And that's a children's book about gun safety and how to talk to your kids about firearms. And so my book journey as an author has kind of evolved as my life as a shooter in a lot of ways, because how do you learn how to shoot, right? And get involved in the shooting sports, and then Shooting While Pregnant, and then the children's book all kind of tie into that lifestyle that, has become my life.
So shooting while pregnant, what are some, when you were doing your research, what are some of the health considerations that women need to consider for that,
Sure.
pre and post pregnancy?
Yeah, it's first of all, there's not a lot of research specifically about women and shooting, because we're not the most studied demographic out there, right?
Right.
I really wanted to find out what the CDC had to say about lead and contaminants and noise. And I also wanted to consult doctors who dealt with law enforcement and military and how they addressed pregnant women in those career fields. I think the biggest thing that women underestimate, and this is where O2Armor really comes in, Cliff, is the lead dust, and any sort of inhalant that you can ingest into your body that goes into your bloodstream, and it affects your child. So even women who decide to shoot while they're pregnant, and that's a personal decision, they really have to take some precautions. At the very, very least, they need to wash their hands and face with cold soapy water, and be very, very aware of contaminants. But a product like yours is very, very useful to even reduce that exposure.
Yeah. And is there any issue with like the concussive force of the, the shoot, you have the noise, you have the loud noise. I mean, does the baby get affected by the noise?
So again, not a ton of research on it, but in you can make comparisons. So your doctor will advise you not to go to a rock concert, while you're pregnant, because of the way, you got to think about it. Your baby's in amniotic fluid. So fluid makes waves. We also know when hearing develops in children in the womb. So looking at all of those things, you have to make some decisions that are based on your lifestyle. Now, also, I've known plenty of women out there who have shot throughout their pregnancy and they've had absolutely no issues and their children are fine. I have other moms out there, myself included, who is, as soon as I found out I was pregnant, and I'm like, you know what? It was a little hard to get this way. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that this baby stays healthy. So again, it's a personal decision, something you have to go over with your partner. But the ebook really kind of gives you some information, maybe some things that you didn't think about, like cleaning your guns.
Yeah.
Give that job to somebody else.
Yeah.
Score.
Exactly.
But it's just something to think about.
So that's actually really great that you have those resources, and of course they're available on your website, and we posted that in the chats. The other thing is, if anybody wants to get into the shooting sports or buying a handgun, what are some of your advices and steps for that?
Sure. Well, the first thing is do some research. And one of the best tips I can give is find out what's near you. If you want to become a long range precision rifle shooter and there are no long range shooting ranges around you, then it's going to be really difficult to keep up with that hobby. So I really recommend people go to their local ranges, go to their local gun shops and find out what's around. And then you can kind of take those next steps. If you're kind of a laid back person and you really get excited about the idea of drilling the same hole through a target every single time, then you want to look at precision shooting sports. If you really like the idea of running gunning like I do, then you look at the action-based shooting sports. So there's so many out there, and a great resource to look at is the National Shooting Sports Foundation. There are tons of different organizations out there. You can always drop me an email through my website at juliegobb.com, and I'll be happy to point you in the right direction.
Awesome. What do you see? What do you see as your vision where you're going to be in 5 years? What's coming up that you're anticipating and you'd like to achieve with both your family and your job?
Oh gosh, I'll tell you what, COVID has thrown a wrench in things.
Mm-hmm.
It's made life so very unpredictable. Last year I had all sorts of goals. This year it's kind of like, oh, do I make that goal? Because I'm not really sure what the deal is going to be. As far as shooting, I really have one particular championship goal that I have not yet attained, and that is to shoot a perfect score at a match called the Bianchi Cup. And its score is out of 1920 points. And so no woman has done that. So if I were to do that within a 5-year time frame, I would be the first and the only. So that really excites me. And so I just have to figure out that plan. But right now, I have 2 little girls at home, and I am loving life, and just being around them and being able to spend time with them and share things with them is really, it's almost made me pause and appreciate things more than that frenetic, constant travel schedule of like, oh, nope, got to go here. Oh, nope, got to go here.
Right.
So it's been really nice.
So are a lot of the shooting sports, are they basically co-ed? They're both men and women in the same competition?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh, good.
Oftentimes they do acknowledge, in most cases, they do acknowledge a first place woman or rank women accordingly, because some sports, it's a little different. So if you're just shooting precision rifle, for example, women are on a par with men. Women
Right.
are actually shooting just as good scores. It's incredible. The
Right.
second you start to put in recoil control, speed, running, being able to carry things, like the tactical games is that like the
Right.
other extreme end. So obviously a woman's not going to be able to deadlift 500 pounds. So,
Right.
it depends on the competition, but absolutely everybody competes next to each other, and it's a lot of fun.
Cool. And what I'm impressed with is watching your social media is you have a lot of different content, like you're cooking, you're talking about your kids, some health issues, you're talking about your competitive stuff. What I'm fascinated also with is you're a brand ambassador for Smith & Wesson. How does somebody become a brand ambassador for anybody, much less a big company like Smith & Wesson?
Oh, I am blessed. I am so grateful. A lot of it comes from endurance.
Mhm.
I've been at this game a long time. But I think that, one of the things that has made me excel in the area of being able to gain sponsorships and be able to work with companies is to understand the business side of things. It's not just, hey, give me ammo for free so I can go shoot and be amazing. You have to understand what value you bring. And so in addition to, that's the amazing thing about the shooting sports, is it opened my eyes to business and marketing and understanding how things work. So
Right.
just because I may want a gun in a certain caliber that has this, it may not be something that would ever sell, kind of thing. And so
Right.
it's given me perspective, very valuable perspective that's helped me build my own brand. So it's been fun.
Right. It seems like it's built well. And how are you doing? What kind of outreach are you doing to build your community?
So I was listening in on Emily's interview. So much fun. I too have a newsletter. So especially with things with social media and our lifestyle and the way things big tech are going, I've really felt it important to, one, maintain my website, and two, be able to connect with people. So people can send me an email. I answer my own email. I don't have a staff. So it's always me, authentic, maybe a little
Yep.
late, but authentic. And
You're authentically
also,
late.
and also my email newsletter that I put out usually around monthly, but sometimes a little bit more often. And it's just a way to connect people. I feel like social media has made us so into comparisons and so into fast reactions that
Hmm.
being able to sit down in an email with somebody and answer their questions and tell a story that wouldn't really, you can't put in an Instagram post, you know, people are like, oh, this is too long, right? Is a really great way to connect with people who are truly interested and want to know more and grow themselves.
Nice. And how many days on the road are you?
Last year, big goose egg.
Wow.
And that's okay. Typically speaking, in a normal year, a normal competition season, I'll shoot anywhere from 10 to 15 matches or
Uh-huh.
10 to 15 trips. So in addition to competitions, I will travel to various different sponsors. Like I'll make a trip to Springfield, Massachusetts and film some new product videos with Smith & Wesson, or
Hmm.
I'll travel and do a hunt or something like that. So it's a blend. So it's not all just what Julie wants to do all the time. Not that I don't enjoy making product videos, but this is where the business aspect of being sponsored comes in, where you have to be able to work your schedule and make sure you plan everything accordingly.
Hey, we just got a question. Somebody asked, how do you keep up your energy? Do you follow an eating regimen?
An eating regimen. I try to eat healthy. That's one thing. I do get a lot of sleep, more than food. I think more about sleep. So I'm an 8 hour a night or more kind of person. So that means if I've got to wake up at 4, I'm going to bed at 8. And that sort of thing. I found that sleep is really, really key. Other than that, though, I do eat a lot of like venison. We cook a lot of wild game. I eat a lot of vegetables. I do have a weakness for wine and chocolate, but I temper that. Um, and that sort of thing. But I think that when you're really happy and you're excited about things,
Hmm.
it's natural to be upbeat. So if you can find something you love and something that excites you,
Hmm.
then go after it.
That's great. Is there anything else that you'd like to pass on to folks that uh, you know any other piece of advice on mindset or lifestyle that you are passionate about?
Sure. I think the one thing, and I don't think I addressed it in your question earlier, I talked about shooting sports a lot, but there are so many new women gun owners out there
Hmm.
and so many women who are looking to purchase their first firearm.
Right.
And this can be a really daunting experience. One, because gosh, they're all black. They all look the same. There's
Right.
marketing coming at you like you don't even know.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that, some of the best tips I can give is, one, try to go to a range to try a variety of firearms first
Hmm.
and keep an open mind about it all. If you can go with someone you trust and someone who's going to guide you along, even better. But even if you can't, even if you go by yourself and you need to ask the guy behind the counter, I'm like, hey, I want this, I think, but what should I know about the products that you're going to show me?
Hmm.
And go from there. When it comes to learning how to shoot and buying a firearm, especially for concealed carry, you need to think about fit. You need to be able to hold the firearm in your hand, reach the trigger if you have smaller hands. You need to be able to reach all the controls. You need to be able to learn how to manipulate the slide. Even if you can't get it the first time, don't give up. You may have to change your technique. You have to have an open mind. I don't have big hands. I'm not big and burly and strong. I've managed to do all of these things, and you can too. So try not to get discouraged and just ask a lot of questions. It's so, so important. And then just take things a step at a time.
Great. Have Is there any like barriers for women getting into the sports or getting a firearm? I mean, I mean, it's still sort of a male dominated system. What's your advice? Do you have any advice about that?
So it's funny, the barriers for entry are usually all the same for everyone. It's time and
Okay.
money, right?
Time and money.
If you don't have those two things, you can't really do anything. But after that, the shooting sports and the gun community in general is very, very welcoming to women.
Very opening
Um,
up. Awesome.
yeah, yeah, and we don't. Every now and again, you'll get little ladied or mansplained, but it's very rare. And usually, there's some guy out there who's going to come to your defense and be like, "Stop it." She doesn't need that. So it's one of those things that you just got to keep an open mind, and don't worry so much about perceptions, and just learn about learning. Commit to learning.
Awesome. Hey, we're going to open it up for question and answer. We had the last few minutes of this. If anybody wants to put anything in the Zoom or in Facebook, go ahead and type things up, and Julie will answer those as they come through. The other thing is what do you, can you tell us about what you're offering folks um, as, for the thing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So through the link, you'll be able to access a discount code for Safariland products. They're a holster, gear company, body armor, that sort of stuff. So
Okay.
if you're into that sort of thing, you can check that out. And I also have a free download for a very quick and easy practice session drill sort of thing.
Okay.
One of the things I find is very common that women tend not to want to learn how to shoot faster. So this particular training addresses what we call a controlled pair. So being able to see the sights, lift off the target, settle, and shoot 2 shots very quickly. So you'll just a simple 50 round, 1 box of ammo thing that you can take to the range, print it off, and really kind of work on building those speed skills, because once you shoot fast, you want to shoot fast a lot.
Oh, great. Hey, I've got a question. When's your cookbook coming out? Because you do a lot of
Ah,
cooking, and it always looks fabulous. And
thank you. I'm working on it. So I have a lot of recipes. In fact, I'm working on one recipe right now today. It's like a tagine bulgogi venison neck recipe. I'm really excited about it to try it. Hopefully it'll taste good as I hope it will be. The cookbook is a labor of love, because it's something that I love cooking, and I want to share it, and I want to make everything perfect. Whereas writing about shooting is very simple for me. I'm like, I know the technique, I know what you need to know, and so that's that. So I am working on it, and so I don't have a date yet, but I would love to be able to finish it by this year. So, but thank you for asking, and thank you for your interest.
that would be
If
really
you
fun.
do,
So
go
you're
ahead.
making that out of venison, the bulgogi?
Yes.
Wow. I have a friend who's grew up in Africa, and he takes the game meat and makes that biltong, which is like
Oh
which is
yes,
the jerky, and it's like you've never
so
had
good.
anything like that before. It's amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um,
I've never made biltong, but it's very tasty.
yeah, yeah. Somebody said venison bulgogi sounds really good. So it's yeah, and we mostly have elk where we our game meat's elk, which is a little bit different than venison, of course. But
It's all good.
yeah,
I'm jealous. We don't have elk here.
it's all good. So you do hunting too. What do you mostly do venison, or do you do other things? You fish? What's your kind of your range of love of that?
Sure. Most of the time it's deer hunting, and
Right.
and I've done less and less hunting now because my oldest daughter, she's hunting now. And so
Oh,
we're just excited to see her. So she's the
yeah.
one who's getting all the deer these days. But it's been fabulous to have that mommy daughter time in the blind and spending time with
Mhm.
her outside and all of that good stuff. But mostly deer here in the area. We've done a little bit of squirrel hunting, some predator control for our chickens, because got to protect the chickens, and that sort of thing. But I've hunted all sorts of game. I used to live in Montana, and it's just such a great, relaxing hobby that I
Yeah.
really, really enjoy
Where
it.
in Montana? Where in Montana did you live?
Glasgow, so upper
Yeah.
northeastern corner. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I was based in Minot for.
Oh, there you go.
I know what
You
it's
know
like.
all about Glasgow.
Exactly. Yeah. So this has been fabulous. We have about a minute left. Is there any parting words you'd like to say before we transition to our next pioneering woman speaker?
Oh, this has been so much fun, Cliff. It's been a great opportunity to be able to connect with people. I can't wait to watch everybody's interviews. I just encourage you all to learn as much as you can from anybody you can learn from. There are so many great speakers in this event today,
Mhm.
and they're all wonderful women that'll will reach out to you, and likewise. So it's been fun.
All right, thanks, Julie, and we'll chat again soon. And you have a great day.
You too. Bye bye, everyone.
Thanks.